This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM, Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
And welcome to another edition of I Love Black People. And I'm just so thankful for all you who have stayed with us on this journey and throughout the years and just been very supportive. And want to give a shout out, particularly those who've actually taken the time out to participate in some of our recent events. We had a Black Blockchain Summit, as well as with our website, iloveblackpeople.com. Just want to thank all those who've joined, who participate. We have like the Saturday morning call that's done every week on Pan-Africanism. So much of what we're doing is to elevate our global communities, and it's important that the participation be recognized, as well as we're grateful for all those participating in those activities. Also, just want to give a shout out. It's that time of the year again. It's homecoming season. I attended Tuskegee and Howard universities, so very anxious and anticipating a return, especially enduring this COVID. Those of us who made it, we made it through, and we've made it through. We've probably, different folks have been sick themselves and made it through some rough patches there, as well as many of us have lost loved ones. I know I have during this whole episode. So it's important that we're grateful, and if you can, make it out to your homecomings. I know sometimes we're so busy with our ambitions and our work and our jobs that we can't, because of family or financial reasons. But I think the therapy, I'm thankful for our ancestors for even having homecomings or creating homecomings, so we didn't have to make them. So at least we could actually attend. So I definitely am going to do my best to be as more active. I'm guilty of not always making time for those things that are important community-wise. All those folks who knew us back when we didn't have no credit hours or didn't have any degrees. So again, shout out to all the homecomings, and even if you don't attend, reaching out to friends, seeing what's going on with homecoming, and after homecoming's over, giving shout out and try to catch up with folks and get a report. But whatever you do, try to get reconnected. I think those are the things that have been very therapeutic, because you never know what people are going through. And, sometimes we don't even talk about it. You've heard it recently in a lot of the media talking about mental health and depression and things that we all go through. And it's that call, that one little call that can make a difference. So I'm even trying my best to, with all the business calls, throw some calls in there that have nothing to do with business, just checking in on folks who I haven't spoken to in years or don't speak to normally because our lives have kind of gone in different directions. You never know, just that message, leave a message, and just, words of encouragement, inspirations, and you know how you talk to your friends. So I think it's important sometimes that as we get super busy, homecoming is a great reminder as a community about how we can kind of connect together and actually be therapists to each other in our community, communion and interacting with each other. So I think that's super important as we move up on that. And I think we're going to be doing some things with I Love Black People throughout this time. We have a bus, a RV in Washington, D.C. So we're still trying to make plans to have that more mobilized. Now the weather is changing, So it's getting a little cold. So having a bus that's, when people are not necessarily out and about might not be as fruitful. But if anyone has any ideas or interested in participating in any activities with I Love Black People bus, please let us know at info at I Love Black People, and we'll definitely engage and participate in some of the activities. We really think it'd be a good thing for some of these small businesses that are reopening to draw attention to their, that's it. The brick and mortar space is very difficult. I had four dry cleaners for a number of years, I think over 5 years, past the 5 year mark. And I tell you what, it's a very difficult thing to do. And especially in this climate, you never know if there's going to be another outbreak of a severe pandemic. Some of these small businesses, I tip my hat because opening your doors every day and praying that people show up is it's tough. So, all the shout outs to all the ma pa, all the small, no one wants to stay small. So when we say small businesses, I know it, no one wants to be small. Everybody wants to be a big business, but shout out to all those business people who do it every day, making payroll. I remember it was so bad. I had to change payroll from Friday to Monday just so I could make some money over the weekend. So the struggle is real. And, as much as we're doing, we can leverage the bus to help out with driving traffic to folks' businesses in the DMV. And we've used the bus before for like tours, literally from all the way down south to the Midwest. We used it for a super PAC we started called the 1911 United. We actually had the Kappas and the Qs and the Kappas came together under a super PAC. It was first Black super PAC. Citizens United. I know it's a little touchy subject, but the fact that we used the vehicle of a super PAC was based on the fact that we wanted to contribute to the reelection of Barack Obama, and you can't contribute to campaigns unless you do it directly. And then when you do that, you don't have any control of the money, and there's limits to even that. So when we devised the 1911 United and used the super PAC model for it, we were able to give as unlimited amounts. And that's not just cash, because I think the super PAC only raised a little less than 300,000. But the amount of in-kind services, that means time, expertise that was donated to support Barack Obama was incredible. And, we can debate about Obama's record as it relates to the Black community, but let's be very clear. In those days, we knew that we would remember if Barack was a one-term president. Like, that was unacceptable. We were not going to have the first Black president be a one-termer. So, I think one of the things we said, we don't know how much money or how much time we spent, but we may not remember that, but we sure remember if he was just a one-term president. And if those, sometimes time will kind of make people kind of forget where we were going through, but there was still some very serious unemployment issues. The economy still was a bit sluggish after the Bush years of destroying the economy. So people were not certain if he could win. And so, again, I know he won. So people look back and say that it was, maybe it was inevitable. But at the time, there was a lot of skepticism if he could actually pull it off. So we used the bus for that. And then after he was reelected, we also used that same bus to support some of his work when, some of the issues he was dealing with domestically was gun violence. So we had a tour with the bus called Love and Protect Your Children, where we actually went to different communities, especially in the battleground states, and identified gun violence organizations that were already on the ground doing work and actually elevating their activity, getting people to sign up to support them, attending activities with them, working together with them. And we did those tours. And then we stayed in Chicago for part of it. the longest. We worked with a group called, I think it was Ceasefire, and this was a ceasefire in Chicago, and we were dealing with shooters, like young folks who actually had shot and killed people, and we took one young brother who had been involved in some shooting incidents, and we actually took him on the tour with us after Chicago. We actually went down to Mississippi and did a civil rights tour. And we hired the young brother. He had been involved in some violent activities. I forget the young brother's name, about 16 years old. And we made him our official photographer for the remaining part of the tour. So he was taking pictures. And we actually had a booth. I think we had a booth where we were participating at the Essence Festival. So this had to be like 2012, 13. And really, tried in our best ways to be the solution for our own community. And this is, again, was done with members of Omega Psi Phi fraternity as well as Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And we always try to say it that way. Like, since I'm a Kappa, we'd always say the Q's first. I would always say the Q's first. And my partner, a brother named Chase Sales, who's a Alpha chapter, Omega, he would always say the Kappas first, just so we never got into any weird, folks trying to think that we were doing something to elevate one over the other. But what's so crazy about when you do stuff with these fraternities, most of the Black community don't even know what a Kappa Alpha Psi is. Like, if you don't deal with Greek letters, like, most people have no reason to ever look at a psi. It looks like a candelabra or a pitchfork. And literally, when I think so many of us make so much of these organizations, which are great. Anytime we organizing is great. I mean, I don't call myself Greek. I'm a Black man. I'm an African. But all that being said, most of the people don't even know what a NOOP is. So we try to make sure we focus not on the fact that we were in fraternities, but we tried to do our best to focus on us as brothers, and so many sisters helped on. Let me just be even very candid with our organizing through members of the, because we couldn't officially be a part, because these fraternities are partisan. We couldn't be affiliated. So we literally, 1911 United is a year both of these organizations were founded. So literally what we did was just have folks who were members participate, not the actually we got letters from each organization saying don't do anything. It was so bad the Kappas told us that we couldn't even use 1911 like the whole year. The Omegas was a little bit more reasonable. They said, as long as you don't use our name, we want Obama, but they didn't say that, but they said, as long as you don't use our name, there's nothing for us there's nothing here. So, and our legal teams were, had made sure we crossed the T's and dotted the I's. So we had a very, Sandler and Reef was our law firm, very big law firm at the time. So politically, so we didn't have any issues with that, but most, if not much, of our support came from Black women. So just as much, we led it as Black fraternal members of these organizations. It still was the sisters who stepped up and made sure that everything we did with these tours and with the bus was super awesome. So we just were so thankful. And like I said, with the last one with the young brother who was a photographer from Chicago, we did the Essence Fest, which was really nice. And if you haven't been to Essence Festival, you're missing something. I think that's a go-to. There's nothing like it in the world. Essence Festival in New Orleans. They just had it back this year, and it was great. It's again, a lot of these events and activities are just getting back together. So a lot of the work that people are doing are just to make people aware, hey, we're back, we're Black, and we're ready to go. So, I definitely can't miss an opportunity to be with our people and doing that. I think a couple of other things that have been super important. We've been doing things in the nation's capital. I just want to give a shout out to Mayor Muriel Bowser. She's somebody that I've known for years. Literally, I worked on a campaign I ran the field campaign for brother Adrian Fenty. He was mayor, and I had just left being an advisory neighborhood commissioner and was finishing up my dry cleaners, which was again talking about small business, had come to an end, and she was my Ward 4 coordinator, and super amazing sister, and to see her prosper, be prosperous for her hometown is super amazing. And I think one of the things we don't oftentimes give people their flowers because it's politics. So politicians are all problematic, but to be able to say, hey, this sister, born and raised in the particular capital city, dealing with misogyny and sexism and racism, to be able to get to the point where she's now going, very possibly after this general election, going to her third term, is amazing. And she even adopted a daughter while she was in office. So just to let how this sister thinks about family. She even, Sister Miranda, just understanding how I've even called her Mother Mayor, because she really does care about our people in our community. And I think it is difficult, again, when you're dealing with politics, the motivations, the issues that are faced. But at the same time, she's done such an amazing job. And, just I've spent some more time in the DC area. As many of you know, I travel a lot. I've been over 60 countries. So I do business throughout Africa. I have staff. I Love Black People is literally throughout the continent of Africa. We got staff in like Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe. We've had some folks in Ethiopia. So we really are Pan-African globally. And being back in DC, the Congressional Black Caucus was here just recently. And it doesn't do a lot oftentimes more than socializing. We need to do better with that. But I definitely was super pleased with how the mayor is progressed and made, and there's still obstacles, the issues that we still face. It's almost like liberation. Liberation is not destination. We have to stay vigilant. It's a journey. So definitely a shout out to the mayor, and I wish her well on her reelection and all her staff. That's another thing that doesn't get highlighted. Washington D.C. is a capital city, and we're going to be doing more to focus in on Black leadership like that, because the mechanics of it is hard. We can have great rhetorical conversations or debates about the issues, but the actual organizing of the resources and people to actually execute these things it's not it can be daunting. It requires real effort with real people taking responsibility for their actions. So I definitely want to make sure we expose more of that behind the scenes of how the sausage is made. I'm not trying to push people to eat meat, but how are these large entities ran, and give us an understanding of what it takes to either support work like that or even lead ourselves. I know we oftentimes talk about leadership, but we don't often talk about followership. On the social media stuff, there's always talk about followers, how many followers you have. But people like Kwame Nkrumah were ousted with coups from his followers. So as much as we love him and many of these other brothers and sisters, many times their followers end up not being there for them to support even through difficult times. So again, I think there's an amount of accountability that we must hold leadership to, especially in this election season. But that accountability should start with us as followers, start with us holding ourselves accountable to an agenda. And then we hold those around us, and then we hold those politicians accountable, win or lose. If whoever you vote for, if you participate, some people don't participate in electoral politics. Whoever wins is supposed to be representing you. So even if you didn't vote, they represent you. So it's literally about holding people accountable and not just paying your taxes. Because I do hear people talk about how they're not going to vote, or They're not going to do the lesser two evils. I don't believe in that either. No lesser two evils, but I do vote. I'll be very clear that this system doesn't care if you vote or not. If you don't vote, it just makes the people who votes their votes even more powerful because their vote is going to represent all the folks. It's not going to just represent them. Even the people who don't participate, that election is going to impact all of them. So the thing I tell people, if you really are upset with the system and you don't want it to work, just follow the money. And in this system, if you don't pay your taxes, you can go to jail. There's no going to jail for not voting. So if you're not clear which one is more critical in this system, then just follow the money. Try to go without paying your taxes. Go around, just as much as I hear people bragging about not voting, brag about not paying your taxes. See how that goes. Tell everybody that you're not going to pay your taxes or haven't been paying your taxes and see if that works out. But that's, again, starving this machine is probably if you're really serious about protests or serious about making a change to the system, starving it of money probably would have the more lasting impact than trying to say I'm going to keep my vote away from folks who don't want us to vote anyway. So I didn't want to get all into that, but I think in this election season, those are some of to recap things that are going on that I think we should be more thoughtful about as we kind of interact with each other and talk about what we want to see happen in the society or what we don't. Again, with I Love Black People, our premise is leveraging all of our networks, all of our relationship to build a safety net to protect each other from racial profiling and xenophobia. And we don't need to wait on elections to do that. There's so much that we can do with each other and so much that's being done that's not highlighted. And I think, again, with this show, our attempt is to highlight that the Black people and the things that people do as it relates to Black folks. Again, there's folks who aren't Black who are doing things that impact our lives in a positive way. We need to know about those things just as much as we need to know about the things they're doing to hurt us. So this show is to really focus on the positive things that are being done, but oftentimes aren't elevated, aren't analyzed, or we don't get the background on. So it's important as we go through this journey, just again, do our own organizing, win or lose during these elections. These elections last a day, but there's still 364 days that we have to live and thrive as people. So again, iloveblackpeople.com. Make sure you guys, check that out if you haven't done it, because the ones that have, we definitely, like I said in the beginning, we appreciate it. Another thing that we're going to be doing, we have a global green book, and this will be our 4th edition. So, and we focus on themes, and our theme again this year will be healthcare, and we're going to be focusing on, with the pandemic and the COVID, a lot of people have made, arguments. Is this man-made? Is this natural? Or all these issues. And no matter if it's natural or man-made, it's literally toxic. And we need to do something in a toxic society. And then with all the mandates that require people to take vaccines and things that many, many people do not want to take, we all those things we get, but that doesn't mean that we don't need to be vigilant with the sicknesses that are out here and how do we empower ourselves. So with this year's global green book, we're looking at how do we help with some of the side effects that might be occurring, or how do we treat in a therapeutic way, detoxing our bodies from all these chemicals and things that we're putting into it to make things better. And we want to make sure we're very clear that there are things that we can do that uses natural methods with proven, when I say proven, things that won't hurt you, but there's things that we can do proactively. And so besides having information about healthcare providers that are Black friendly and Black owned, we're going to have real conversation and kind of analysis and suggestions and solutions about ways to detox our bodies from all of this COVID, be it side effects or actually after effects if you had COVID. So these are things that are important that we want to make sure we capture in this year's Global Green Book. In the previous book, we talked about many things going on throughout the world. We had monuments just for fun. We had like African monuments for liberate that celebrate the liberation struggle. We're not going to have that this year. This year, it looks like we're going to focus on HBCUs and as well as African universities. It's definitely important that we show and share our academic and educational achievements. But with that being said, and just kind of wrapping it all up as we always do, I am because we are, and we're so thankful, like we started, for all of your support and everything that you guys do, you all do to support us with I Love Black People. So again, thank you so much. And
this is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.